Sipping slow, yakking the act, thinking I'm mad.
Oh, champ. Look at here, gang. Akademiks completely disrespects Jim Jones, alright? And Jim Jones' legacy because Jim Jones is clout chasing Nasir Jones, aka Nas. Yeah. Akademiks says that this guy is a passionate liar, alright? Now, is this facts? Or is Jim Jones just purposefully trying to put himself out there to gain recognition and clout and attention? I want y'all to run up these likes, smash up on a like, share the video, because we're going to take a look at this. Salute to the chat, man. Run up these likes. All champ.
I feel like Jim Jones and Pusha T are on the same, like, they're on the same, like, calendar right now. Like, they're entertaining, but they're entertaining while they're using somebody else's name, right? For example.
Is Pusha entertaining while using someone else's name? I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know about Pusha beefing with Travis Scott. Matter of fact, we didn't know Pusha was beefing with Travis. We had no clue. We found out. I think without the Travis Scott thing being in the Soviet record, that it's still likely to gain a lot of traction just because people would have already thought there was disses in the song without the little verse about Travis. I think because Malice talks about these birds talking, all that could be references to Drake and all that, but I think there's other reference points in these lyrics that might pinpoint to Pusha potentially dissing someone, especially after UMG denied a Kendrick verse on the song Whips and Chains, right? So one would say that. Now, as for Jim Jones, he seems to be using Nas for clout. But also, people are not talking about Nas beefing with Dipset back in the day. Now, Cameron and them, from my understanding, no longer have beef with Nas. However, Jim Jones might still be carrying that torch of beef with Nas. Just say it. Run up these likes. Let's proceed. Oh, champ.
Example. I don't know how this Jim Jones Nas thing even really kicked up, but Jim Jones has been comparing himself to Nas. He claimed he had more Billboard entries than Nas, a flat out lie, right? He claimed, he was almost claiming like his catalog is better than Nas, a flat out lie. And now he's claiming that because he mentioned Nas, he got Nas the most viral publicity Nas has ever received. Another flat out lie. Like, I like Jim Jones. Like, you always gotta love a passionate liar, right? Like, this guy's he's just lying left and right, but he's passionate about these lies.
Now, here's the thing. Jim Jones is keeping his name in the algorithm. Jim Jones wants to be spoken upon. Jim Jones wants the clicks and views. And yes, he's clearly lying, and he knows he's lying. He's doing it on purpose. He's trying to trigger the crowd. He's trying to draw emotion. He's trying to get himself talked about. He's trying to get his streams up. He just dropped an album not that long ago. He's trying to get his numbers up, gang. Let's be honest. All right? Now, believe it or not, Jim Jones may have had a bigger impact in New York City than Nas has had. And why do I say that? Well, if you're from the town and you're from Gotham, you understand that, hey, Jimmy is kind of a fashion icon as well as a gang icon, because back in the early 2000s, a lot of the reasons why we had such a huge influx of blood members was because of Dipset. And the main person who was the front line for all that non-trade Billy Badass stuff was your boy Jim Jones. Facts. The whole Dipset was jacking non-trade. Facts. Okay. The same gang that 6ix9ine is jacking and got hit with a RICO for, but this is a different sector. This is the Harlem. Harlem Billies or non-trades, not the Brooklyn ones that 6ix9ine was a part of. But guess what? That's who Jim Jones was repping. Heavy on the blood stuff. He also is a part of people wearing the true religions and the Ed Hardys with the chain attached on some rock star stuff. He had the Vampire Life brand. He's a fashion innovator as well as a gang innovator, which is not the best thing ever, but it's true. You understand? He kinda is the blood version of Snoop to New York a little bit, but people don't like him, so that's the only issue, right? One narrative can definitely destroy your image or character because people believe that Jimmy is a rat, which he's not. Let me clarify that. He's not a rat. All right? He never told anybody this is cap. Okay? Make sure you smash upon like. Make sure you share the video. We're going to continue. On champ. Let's go.
For Nas, probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been that viral at all, ever. Ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
What?
Now, has Nas reached out to you?
You did. The last time he was in some shit like this where people were comparing
Jay,
when him and Jay was
I knew you
beating
were
on
gonna
him.
say that.
You heard? You did? Like, and I don't want to talk about other people's career, but let's just get to the
Have you spoken
semantics.
You know the great thing about Jim Jones? I think Jim Jones thinks if he keeps talking, he's going to erase history, right? Like he's going to change how history has been written. Nasir Jones is one of the greatest rappers of all time. His catalog, let alone his pen and his skill, you would not even be in the same conversation or caliber. I actually find it quite offensive that he's even saying this, but it might be for rage bait, right? Also, this is the thing. I love what Jim Jones is doing now. He's an older MC. I think he's probably 40-something. He's creating, not necessarily he created himself, but he's further pushing this lane where we could listen to rappers who we used to like that have grown and have aged and are in their 40s. Yes, 40-year-old rap is going to be a thing, chat.
I think Killer Mike did that, though. I ain't gonna lie. So remember, I believe it was last year's Grammys, right? Killer Mike received an award for his album, right? Killer Mike is well into his 40s, probably the same age as Jim Jones. And he received an award for a rap album, okay? All right? I don't remember which award that was specifically, but I do remember that he received an award in his 40s as a rapper or an MC, right? Jimmy seems to be continuing that because Jimmy is always in the media. Jimmy is always putting himself in the spotlight for some reason. We've seen Jimmy around before he even said what he said about Nas. We've seen him around doing all these interviews and these things online. We've seen him beefing with Cameron. That went viral. You dig what I'm saying? So he's very much more relevant than Nas as far as social media and stuff is concerned because he's clearly around, right? Nas is around, but he's not really doing the media stuff that Jimmy's doing, if we're being honest. But like I said, as far as New York City influence is concerned, you can say Jimmy has more of an influence than Nas, even though Nas with the half moon part in the hair and being a lyricist is innovative. It's just not the same as when Jimmy brought around Bird Gang and things like that, because Bird Gang was Max B, Stack Bundles, who are huge New York legends. And without Jimmy, those guys would have never got that type of push. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I say, look, it was a Dipset ever. There was a Bird Gang, which is also an extension of Dipset that also made a huge impact on the city. So for that, I say, okay, maybe a bigger influence, but as far as a global impact, Nas is definitely well above in the global impact. Everybody doesn't even know who Jim Jones is. And that's just a fact, all right? But let's proceed. Run up these likes.
Right? I like all that, right? I like all those things. However, he can't rewrite history. Jim Jones, for the first half of your career, you were what was called a non-factor in music, okay? You, not gonna lie, I do think your lyrical skill has gotten better, but you was kind of known as the nigga who was with Cam, okay? You're actually not even seen as top 2 in your own group. That's even more offensive. You aren't even seen as top 2 in Dipset, right? Niggas used to say, yo, the nicest is Jewels, then Cam. Or niggas would say it's Cam, then Jewels. Nobody on planet Earth would say Jim Jones, then anybody else. Now, as things change, and I will give you credit, you're focused on music while, you know, it looks like Joel Santana started doing crack, okay? No disrespect, Joel. It is what it is. You lost a couple teeth. We know what happened. Cameron looked like he went to go kick it in Ohio or Columbus somewhere. He went to go hang out by the pool down there in Florida. No shots. I love you, Cam. But, you know, they didn't drop music as frequently. You were on your game, okay? I think around when you dropped, was it Harlem? What was the name of the album? It was one album, and I remember I was just like, okay, Jim is taking this shit more seriously, and he's popping out as the lead, right? Like, yo, I'm a solo artist. This is what I do. You get what I mean?
That was like 2005. That album that he's talking about. But people are still forgetting that Nas and Rockefeller beef, which branched off into a Dipset and Nas beef. You would hear like Joel's and Jimmy on a record, on a mixtape, talking crazy about Nas. You dig what I'm saying? And Nas had smoke with them. All right. The whole hip hop is dead thing. There was smoke that was there. All right. And I believe at this time, Dipset had smoke with Jay-Z too, because you remember Cam dissed Hove and all that. Gotta have it. You if you was around, you know what I'm talking about. Dipset had smoke with Nas and Jay-Z at some point, you know. But even the whole Rockefeller, a couple years prior, the whole Rockefeller had smoke with Nas since then. So basically, what I'm saying is, this kind of is something that has been a thing with Jimmy and Nas for well over 20 years now, again, to be honest. Run these likes up, all chin.
And by the way, I'm not saying that Jim didn't come off like a dope rapper on the Diplomats project. He was it. But there was a time that I'm like, okay, he's becoming the lead rapper. And that has transformed your career, but not transforms your career that you could talk like this. Not about Nas, brother. No. Please, just stop it. Stop it. Get some help, brother. Get some help. Anyway, did y'all see T-Pain? T-Pain had some words about...
Listen, all I'm saying is Jimmy's clout chasing heavy. I guess you can call it trolling if you want, if that's what you want to call it. You could call it that, but he ain't nowhere near Nas as far as impact on a global scale. On a New York City scale, we can have an argument. When it comes to just globally knowing who's who, Nas is gonna come up. Nas is in everybody's, damn near everyone's top 5, right? Most people have Nas in their top 5, top 3. Jimmy is nowhere to be found. I can't put Jimmy in my top 50 ever. He wouldn't land there. He wouldn't even land in the top 50, let alone the top 5 ever. CNN named Nas the greatest lyricist ever. You know, Nas was special, man. Nobody seen nothing like Nas. Jimmy grew over time. He got better, but he can never ever compare to Nas ever. And he only has like a very, very only a handful of Billboard entries, to be honest. Yeah, only a handful. If you want to count collaborations, sure, but as a soloist, no. He was on Knocked Off with Young Thug, and he did some new records, but he was a feature artist. You know what I'm saying? He even appeared on the remix for what's the remix was that? The one with damn, which remix was that? I think it was a Dano. I think he had a Dano verse, a mega mix. I don't know. He appeared on quite a few of those mega mixes back in the day on the mixtape era, if you remember. You know, I think he had a Throw Some D's verse too. You could all Google these things, okay? All right. Again, you let me know how you feel about this in the comment section. Do y'all think that Jimmy is in over his head? What's wrong with Jimmy? What do you think is happening? Do you think he's just clout chasing? Because he said that he's clout chasing. He said that he knows he's lying and he's trying to trigger everybody. So is Jimmy trying to trigger everybody with his insane verbiage as of lately? You let me know how you feel in the comment section, gang. But I have a special announcement. Run up these likes, subscribe to the channel. But one more thing, though. Are you ready? It's the mayor. The one and only New York Mayor, F. Eric Adams, and you're rocking with the town favorite, Showface News. It's Big Gotham. And you already know it's the town versus everybody at all times. Hit that like, share the video, subscribe, join the Discord. There's nearly 1,000 members. It's fire. Salute to y'all, gang. I'm about it.